Yeah, there's not a whole lot of meat on this bone at all.
No.
But there is some stuff to make fun of.
But this week on Reliving the Extreme, we're discussing the episode of ECW from July the 2nd, 1996. Nate Maxon here, along with my brother Aaron.
Hello, everybody.
And Mr. Chad Austin.
I'm Mr. Chad, the love bug.
The love bug, Chad Austin.
The heartbreaker.
Knoxville's most eligible bachelor.
Yeah. Please, single girls, move to Knoxville. Make it easy on me.
Chad Austin and Kane are both there now. It's like the epicenter of pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was on TV today trying to figure out what to do with all the homeless.
Choke slam! Choke slam!
Straight to hell! I think he said he's going to put them in abandoned buildings. Just all the buildings that are downtown that aren't being used, he's just going to let them all just stay in there.
I picture that opening video from like Raw in '97 where Austin's walking through all the abandoned warehouses, and that's where they're going to put all the homeless people.
Oh,
that's a bad idea.
Because what they're going to do is they're going to police themselves, right? So they're going to eventually weed themselves out.
Yeah, I mean it's actually not a bad idea.
It's not.
Like, hey, we're not using that building for anything. You don't have a roof
of it.
All right, there you go.
There's blocks of them. Just let them go in there. It'll be like The Walking Dead, like when the world ends, like the new beginning.
Yeah.
When the whole city was abandoned, and if it's just like 8 people survived. Just put them all in them buildings downtown.
Well, this episode of ECW that we're discussing is not, I got to say, and I told the guys, full disclosure before we started recording today.
Talk slower.
It did not get me. Yeah, it didn't catch my attention, especially the main event. I was checked out for it because, as everybody knows,
was there a main event?
I'm not interested in Tommy Dreamer and Brian Lee. We'll get to that.
There was an event.
So Aaron was the social media mogul today out there on the WNR podcast Facebook group, and he got some stuff for us. I think some questions and some comments from some of our listeners. So we'll take the first part of the show to fill some time, and I want to thank in advance anybody that participated. Thank you.
I'd rather hear the questions. You can skip the comments.
Well,
especially if they're from a guy named A. Mitchell.
Well, there is some of those. But what I did was I posed questions to them to hear some of their answers, and then I figured, okay, I'll see if we agree or have a different answer or whatever. Like, the first question, we've already done this amongst ourselves of who that never worked in ECW do you think would have fit perfectly? You know, like it was when we were talking about Bob Backlund being in ECW and Haku and guys like that. So
I came up with one that we didn't talk about, I don't think.
Well, let's see if they mention them in the list first. And some people they went with guys that were around when ECW was around. But anyway, but which wrestler would fit ECW perfectly that was never there? Nathan Roberts, who's a listener.
Nathan Roberts? I never heard of him.
Well, not him. This is what this is Nathan Roberts' answer. He's a fan. Good thing. Listens to all the show. Listens to all the shows. Nate, you know that. He's a big supporter. And he said that he thinks young Brock Lesnar.
Oh, of course.
What do you guys? I mean, Brock Lesnar kind of fit in wherever he went. So, and obviously he'd fit in with ECW. But yeah,
he ain't even got to be young.
Yeah. I would have loved to watch Brock Lesnar kill Tommy Dreamer.
No, Hervé Ernesto. That's the guy he needed to kill. But yeah, I mean, you're right though. You're right, Aaron, because Tommy will take anything once, and that would be all he needed.
And just F5 and Tommy off the Eagles nest.
Why not? He did everything else off the Eagles nest.
That's what I'm saying. It would have been awesome. Nate, you got anything on Brock and
Brock
ECW?
definitely Brock Lesnar definitely would have fit in as far as style and everything goes. And I mean, and sometimes you have to be I don't know what to say. You have to not analyze it too much because what would have been. You don't want to get too deep in the weeds of like about the attitude he had when he was younger and et cetera, what that would have done. But just as a performer, absolutely, he would have fit in perfectly.
With Paul as his manager, or
now you could have done that.
I think Paul would have definitely attached himself to him.
Especially if he got over like as fast as he probably would have.
Yeah.
If he would have just came out and just F5'd me, Mikey, Hervé, Donnie, you know what I mean, and just went down the line, then yeah, he would have definitely hitched his wagon to his star.
Yeah.
That's not a bad choice, actually.
The next suggestion or person that was mentioned was by some fan named Archie Mitchell. He suggests that William Regal would have been a perfect fit for ECW.
That's a tough one, man. Because I mean, we've never really got the William Regal that we ever really knew he could be, right? Have we?
I think Regal would have fit, especially with what, because William Regal is one of those guys that I'm trying to think how to word this. He's one of those guys that had like 7 personalities. Like Regal could be funny, or Regal could be serious, or Regal could be half and half, or Regal could play manager, or Regal could play best wrestler on the card. He's just he's a jack of all trades, and I think he would have been great in ECW.
Do you think he would have came in with the quote unquote smart fans knowing what we know about Regal, like about being a legitimate badass?
I think by the time ECW, let's say he comes in 96. All right, let's just use the year we're in as the
time frame that we're at.
Yeah, I think so, because he's already had quite the run in WCW, and
he had all that shit with Fit. Like him and Fit beat the shit out of each other in what 95, early 96 in WCW. Yeah,
and Fit already had that reputation.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like that would have been.
No, I'm agreeing with
that.
You.
Was the first. That's the first time like he got to see the Regals the same way. You know what I mean?
Yes.
When he wants to be.
Yeah, I'm
before that
you. It's because everybody knew how bad of an ass that Fit Finlay was. So for him and Regal to go out there and beat each other up like they did, then the people that did know about Steve Regal probably got a whole new appreciation for him. So I think that's not a bad choice at all.
Yeah, I agree. The next fan suggestion is by Aaron Minnick, and he says that he thinks Max Payne would have been great in ECW and had a better career.
Oof. Yeah, I don't know about that one, man. Maybe if you guys can say something that might help me out on this one.
I think that, and here's where I'll say you might be onto something there. I don't think he's as much of a gimme as the last two, but he did where he was good. Max Payne was good in the mix. Like he did have some pretty fucking awesome matches with Kevin Sullivan when they were a tag team against the Nasty Boys. I mean Cactus Jack, not Kevin Sullivan. So I mean, when put in the mix, I think he could go, but I don't know if he would have lasted. I guess he might have been one of those guys that came in, did a few shots, and was out, and didn't do anything that impressed, but also didn't do anything that offended you. I don't know.
Yeah, not to mention he also has a tremendous background.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys even knew that he was a hell of an amateur wrestler.
Yeah. And I'm not shitting on to the listener. I'm not shitting on your suggestion at all. I just, like I said, I think that as part of a maybe a tag team or something, Max Payne would have been good, but I don't know if he had the staying power for.
What about if that ham bone that played the guitar there at 911 eventually chokeslammed? What if that Hambone was playing the guitar and Max Payne just went up on the Eagles nest and just took the guitar and just started playing himself? Would that have been a good way to introduce him? Maybe.
Yeah. Have him push the fucking guy off the Eagles nest and then start playing the guitar.
Yeah, that would have killed that. It would have killed that poor guy. It would have killed that poor Ortiz fella. Sacco, whatever his name is, Ortiz.
And then the final suggestion is from Ian Totten, and he says Don Fargo.
Oh, you talking about taking somebody from a different generation and planting them
That's
there?
what I say.
God, they didn't even have color. Hey, dude, I got no problems. I got no problem at all putting Don Fargo in ECW if you could just just transpose him into color and not have him wrestle on radio and shit. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody would know who he is, and he would be the kind of guy that would just walk out and people would go like, oh.
And I want to watch Don Fargo kill Tommy Dreamer. That's my new gimmick. I just want to watch everybody kill Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah, anybody who has like
Brian Lee choke slams Don Fargo from the Eagles nest.
But if you take Don Fargo
and the tape is entitled "The Final Bump."
Dude,
you got the night kimono danced upon the ECW arena. You got the night the line was crossed, and he got the final bump.
You would have to have Paul Harvey doing commentary. He's so
the rest
old.
of the story.
He's so old. Ladies and gentlemen.
Well, if you took Don Fargo in his prime and had a time machine and put him into ECW, he definitely would have fit in.
Oh, yeah, well,
but it's not as funny as old Don Fargo. Show.
No, it's not.
Or Don Fargo now.
Hey, old Don Fargo with the Dudley Boys.
Fargo Dudley.
Fargo Dudley.
Hey, now that we're talking about like possible shit that
it doesn't even make any sense because he's like, how's an 80-year-old man Daddy Dudley's son?
He's got the old horn-rimmed glasses with the tape in the middle.
He's like, Fargo Dudley's like, I'm older than my pappy.
Dude, he would be racist.
We got our Negro brother over here, Devon.
Dude, Fargo Dudley is my new favorite now. I hope they come out with a retro figure. Fargo Dudley. And it does the Fargo, him and Bubba do the Fargo strut. Fargo. Who said this? Ian Totten?
Yeah.
Good job, Ian Totten. You popped me.
And just as a quickie here, for those of you that are, if you like true crime podcasts, our buddy Ian is the host of the Deathcast podcast, so you can check him out anywhere you can find your podcast. So, but thanks Ian for contributing as usual. Ian's been on the We Can't Wrestle podcast with us before, and we appreciate it.
How about just in the wake of all the dark sides of the ring? What about a Chris Colt?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he fits the mold.
I mean,
or the lack of a mold for ECW.
I mean, you remember when they were doing the Brian Pillman with the naked shit and all that other stuff? That's right up Chris Colt's alley.
Yeah.
And he's gay.
Chris Colt
even
shows
better.
Up. Chris Colt Pillman's naked on that leather couch, and Chris Colt shows up and goes, "I didn't know we were having a party."
Anybody who cuts a promo and they finish it by saying, "I'm going to kick your ass and then I'm going to fuck you." That's somebody I'm not trying to work with.
Right.
Yeah,
So
Chris
now
Cole would
I
be great.
Yeah. So the next question I posed to everybody.
Hang on,
the-
I got one that I thought of.
Okay.
Kabuki with Gary Hart.
Oh, Gary Hart. Gary Hart would have come in and been like, I got Kabuki here, and he's gonna face that black Devon Dudley.
Yep, because you couldn't have Rufus R. Dudley.
Just Gary Hart, man, he would not ever give up talking about people's race. Like that was like, he is my Latin Al Perez. He is my big black Abdullah the Butcher.
Sudanese fella. Yeah, Gary Hart would have been fantastic in ECW.
I don't know what JT Smith said, but he's black. He is so black. Gary Hart and Fargo Dudley have made this a very racist episode of Reliving.
It's like, I do not know what JT Smith said.
But he is black.
Not even that part of it. It's just like he cuts a promo because he's feuding, and they just go to, in Pulp Fiction. They go to Gary Hart, and it's like, I do not know what JT Smith said.
Oh, Jesus
anyway.
Oh.
I then asked this question of our fan base, and the same 4 people answered. Who do you think the lamest person in ECW history was? Lamest wrestler. Nathan Roberts once again answered, but he went with he answered with a ECW person, and he said Ezekiel Jackson.
Oh. Yeah,
so
yeah, I mean he's definitely lame if you consider the way that he was presented. But in a real life true to form ECW, he wouldn't be so lame.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna go out there and tell him that he's lame.
Mr. Archie Mitchell says Jason.
Oh, come on. I thought we were going to exclude him because that was just too easy.
Yeah. Archie goes for the layup on that one.
Yeah.
He might as well say DC Drake. Tony Stetson.
Aaron Minnick says 911 was the lamest.
Not according to them 900 people every time he came out.
Yeah, they love that guy.
Yeah. Until he convinced Paul to let him go out there and work.
And then Mr. Ian Totten says that it was a tough choice, so he's going to give us 2. He said if you got to go with 2 of them, he'd say it's either Tommy Dreamer
Agreed.
or Just Incredible.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I jumped the gun.
Just Incredible was definitely on my list.
You know what I want to see? I want to see Ian Totten kill Tommy Dreamer in the ECW arena.
I want to see anybody kill Tommy Dreamer in the ECW arena. Maybe Don
I think
Fargo.
I think the lamest guy in the history of ECW is Chris Michaels.
The fucking Bullwinkle guy.
Yeah, lame motherfucker.
Shut up.
I forgot. I had taken that out of my memory until you said it. The minute you said it, I was like, the Bullwinkle guy.
Yeah, because he did the Bullwinkle thing.
I mean, you can't not mention Jay Sully.
Sweaty Sully.
Sweaty six-pack Sully was at least goofy and funny. Chris Michaels fucking rocked.
Hunter Q and his bad breath.
Yeah. So yeah, that dude was lame.
Oh, if you're going to talk about lame people in ECW, god damn. Just start with start 93. Hell, the Sandman was lame at one point.
And now we got 3 questions from some of the listeners. 2 two of the questions, once again, come from Archie Mitchell. And this is a question for everybody. It is, what is your favorite storyline in the history of ECW?
Oof.
Storyline, angle, whatever you want to call it.
See, that's kind of a loaded question, because all the storylines start out, I guess, very simple, and then they kind of like turn into what the storyline's supposed to be. You know what I mean? I mean, does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only I'm trying to think, like, the only storylines that were storylines was kind of like Raven's people and Dreamer with the backstory kind of thing. But most of them kind of just turned into shit after matches.
I think my favorite story, if you're saying we're telling a story in ECW, my favorite is probably building up to Terry Funk winning the championship at Barely Legal.
Yeah, I put that on my list because I was like, somebody's going to say that, but it's the Raven Funk feud. I love that because I like the angle where they go where Raven's talking about how like Terry Funk reminds him of his dad, and he's like, I hated my father, that type of thing. It was a great angle. And then my other one is the one that's just kicking off, is actually Sandboy.
Who?
The one that's going on right now with Raven taking Sandman's kid.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a great fucking story, and I like calling him Sandboy now. Decided that.
Sandboy.
That Tyler, he's Sandboy.
Huh. I just had one right before you said that. Now I just kind of forgot it, but damn. We're talking about greatest stories. Wow. I mean, there was like, what about Jerry Lynn? And who did he work with all the time? Was that
RVD?
Rob.
Oh, okay.
Rob.
RVD and Jerry Lynn. RVD and Sabu was good.
Mm-hmm.
Because that led into a whole entire show by itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. Yeah. Jerry Lynn, like everything Jerry Lynn was, well, he was one of them guys again. Like his programs all started out with just matches, and he led into programs, which is not a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
It's an easy way to start a program,
Yeah.
Hey, Sandman in Cairo was good. Peaches.
Eating peaches. Fresh fruits.
You know what's funny though? We made comedy gold out of that. But you're not wrong. That was actually it was like the most interesting thing on the show for a time. It was good.
It was a good angle. It was just fucking ridiculous. And going fresh fruits. Vegetables, fresh fruit.
His little pitiful garden.
Out here eating peaches.
How about I liked one of my favorite angles was it wasn't really a storyline. It was something based around one incident that the crowd just couldn't wait to see happen, and that was Fonzie finally getting chokeslammed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many times did Fonzie get out of that? He would constantly he would like be kind of put in that position, and then somebody would come out and attack 911, and that would give Fonzie the escape out of there.
Yeah.
But when he finally got the chokeslam 911, that was a huge pop. That was pretty solid.
Question, the next question is just for Chad, and it's from Archie, and he wants to know who the friendliest guy you ever worked with in ECW was. Like, who was he was just a nice guy.
Friendliest guy. Like, yeah, I guess he means as far as like going over the match and laying it all out kind of stuff. And
yeah, just didn't big dog here or anything like that. It was just a friendly guy.
Well, I mean, I there really wasn't that much of a problem with really anybody, but like the New Jack situation, because the majority of the stuff that I'll tell you who was really good was the Eliminators. Like they were solid guys, like, because they lived by the whole Jerry Briscoe kind of thing Like they didn't want to go out there and just eat up me and Joe Hartgood.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you know what does Jerry Briscoe say? If you go out there and just kill a guy, you didn't beat anybody.
Yeah.
And that went with there was a lot of guys that had that same, like Chris Benoit. Like, believe it or not, he was the same way too. Like
Terry Funk. I'm sure Terry. I mean, you were Terry Funk, right?
Well, I mean, I never really worked Terry Funk like in a straight up match. I just did angles with Terry Funk. So I mean, you know, so yeah, that goes without saying. Everybody knows. Nobody's got a problem with ever having to do anything with Terry Funk. You just shut up and listen, right? I mean, yeah, most of the guys, other than New Jack, Sandman, they were the two worst guys, I would say. But as far as being nice, because like I said, everybody was generous enough. Like Benoit was so generous that they had to edit my offense off TV to make him look good because he gave me too much. Yeah, everybody was nice in a sense, but everybody had their own sort of. Everybody worked different styles. You know what I mean? Like, what would you consider nice before you go out to the ring wasn't necessarily so nice once you got out there. Because I never stiffed anybody. I never really had much of an opportunity to. Yeah. So Benoit was really good.
We got 2 more questions, and then we'll get into this shit show.
Coat hanger.
And these questions come from James Anthony, and I had to look this up because I had no idea who this guy was. But he says, "Do you guys agree that Chris Candido's promos he sounds like Don Vito from Viva La Bam?" I didn't know who that was. I had to look it up, and it doesn't sound like Chris Candido.
Yeah, but that wasn't necessarily. I don't think he was copying Big Vito. That was just a Jersey thing.
Yeah, that's what I got from it, and I was like, I don't know.
He wasn't the only guy. Yeah, if you would have had more Jersey guys from where Candido and all was from, and you would have seen that. Yeah, that he wasn't the only guy to talk like that. But you know, he talked fast.
Then the final question is, he understands that like ECW went with wanting to be like, anti-establishment and not caring about being politically incorrect or whatever. But he said, looking back now, what's an angle or a situation or whatever that you see and then you go, that didn't age well. Like looking at it, hindsight being, now that's not the greatest thing in the world.
It didn't have to necessarily be politically incorrect. You just mean angle in general?
For me, and I'll just shoot in, and then you guys can give your answer. But for me, it's not anything politically correct because I like comedy, and therefore, since I'm a high on comedy, I don't get into political correctness because I think that everything is. Anyway, I think political correctness is stupid, is what I'm saying.
It doesn't even have to be. I'm just saying, like he's just saying, I don't think aged well.
I know. So what I'll say is something that I don't think aged well in ECW, and then going into other promotions too. But knowing what we know now about CTE, watching some of the chair shots people take unprotected to the head and shit, that doesn't age well to me. That's that. So again, like I said, I didn't mean to derail your question, listener, but it's not so much for me. It's not like a political thing or an offensive thing. It's the chair shots that don't age well to me when I watch old wrestling.
Hey man, I got news for you. I'm a chair shot taking fool, and I'm fully aware and I'm fully responsible enough to decide whether or not I'm going to take them or I'm not going to take them. And if you're going to take them, just take them. I mean, you know what I mean?
When you and so okay, I'll ask you this because again, like Aaron and I say, we've never worked a match or we're not workers. We don't know. So sometimes I'm like, a stupid question, Chad. But for me, it's not a stupid question because I'm not a worker. When you would take chair shots, did you try to take it at a certain angle with your head? You know what I mean? Like, did you try to? Is there a certain part of your dome that you don't want to take it directly at? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
I didn't want to take it on the back of my head.
I was gonna say I would think the back would be the worst.
Yeah, because the back would
fuck your spine up.
It would knock you silly. I would feed like right around right above the forehead.
Mm-hmm.
I would just stick my head up just enough that that seat of that chair, as long as it's the seat of the chair, you're fine. I don't give a shit how hard they hit you, but I'm not going to get the balls or anything. But this, as long as you put your head up, you keep your neck kind of stiff and keep it. You don't want to have a big floppy neck out there and take one of them balls chair shots because you're in trouble. But as long as you know it's coming and you can kind of brace yourself for it, I'm all for it. I don't. If you're not going to take it, then don't. Then just don't take it. Don't put your hands up. Don't do any of that stuff. That's just me. Because I'm stupid.
So to answer the listener's question, because I derailed it kind of, was there anything you guys think didn't age well, like as far as watching it back? You know?
We haven't got to it yet. Sorry.
What about the stupid, like, even though it didn't even really air, like, I never had a problem with the crucifixion. I just don't. I never did.
Well, I don't either because I'm not religious. I don't give a shit about that. That's
neither am I.
Yeah, I don't care about that. The one for me is, like I said, we haven't got there yet, but I watch it now and I'm like, this doesn't age well, and it just seems like it's whatever. It was that period of time where Bubba was just cutting promos on the crowd, and like calling them like cunts and whores and
trying to
saying racist shit and everything. Yeah, it's like, to me, I watch that now and I'm like, you know what? I typically fast forward through that stuff. Like if it's on a pay-per-view, I'm like, I'm gonna watch a random ECW pay-per-view and it's Bubba just cutting promos on the crowd for 22 minutes. Like,
it's like watching a stand-up comedian do dick and fart jokes. It's like it's easy comedy. It's not funny.
Yeah. But the funny part is that Bubba knew that. He knew it. Like he went to the lowest common denominator. Just he went right for it. He still talks about it to this day. That how he would just say whatever. He would just make fun of, inbred. I think just fat people. He would do all that shit. And
inbred fat people.
He just didn't care, and he still stands by it. In his world. I don't know how much it became his world as it was then, but he's like, a heel, be a heel. And
right.
And I'm kind of, nothing offends me anyway. I mean, but you
it doesn't offend me. I'm just saying I don't care if he does it. Like, it doesn't offend me. I'm just looking at it where I'm like, that was. I mean, it almost fucked him over on their pay-per-view. You know what I mean? Like, it was just bad. I don't know. It's kind of like when Cornette says lazy booking or whatever. It's like, it's lazy. It's like you're being late. Like, of course they're gonna want to fight you if you call them the C word or whatever. It's like, just, I don't know. It's just lazy.
Yeah, it's low hanging fruit. It's just easy. It's easy to do that.
And many people that we like have done it. Fucking Piper did it. He called Bruno Sammartino a wop. You know what I mean? I mean, they
I mean, we already talked about him earlier, but just imagine what Don Fargo would have said. I mean, wasn't he in the Klan?
This is I'm Gary Hart.
I think he goes even further back than that. I think he fought for the South.
I was gonna say I'm Gary Hart, and this is my super white Don Fargo.
Superior white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
dude. Yeah.
Like,
Heavens forbid if you would have done a program with
his
Brickhouse
ECW,
Brown.
his ECW entrance music is Johnny Reb. You fought all the way, Johnny Reb, and there ain't no Fargo Dudley's coming out.
Imagine the promo you could have cut on Shaska Watley. All doing this jive tone stuff. Hey, how come Jimmy Valiant never came in the ECW?
Mercy, Daddy.
Because if Gary Hart was there, he was only there to collect a bounty on Jimmy Valiant.
If Jimmy Valiant would have showed up, you're fucking sure Paul Jones would have showed up.
Yeah.
Well, Paul Jones drove him there. How else was Jimmy going to get there? You don't think Big Mama drives, do you?
The lights go out and there's Paul Jones and Manny Fernandez.
Well, no, I'm trying to think of who ECW's Paul Jones' army would be.
Baron Von Takeshita. Oh, Baron Von Raschke in there.
Well, you got to build Paul Jones' army out of the roster. I'm trying to think who it would be.
Oh, then he would have had Dino send off.
Dino Sendoff, the Dirt Bike Kid,
Donnie
Hack
Allen.
Myers, Donnie Allen, and he brings back the Canadian Wolfman.
Did you say Judge Dredd?
Dirt Bike Kid,
Canadian Wolfman, Max Thrasher,
and of course Fargo Dudley.
Fargo Dudley.
Fargo Dudley.
So the episode,
the Fargo Dudley strut.
The episode of ECW we're doing here, this will not take long, at least on my end, is from July the 2nd, 96. And by the way, thank you to all the listeners for your participation this week.
Thank you, Ian Totten.
Keep listening, keep participating, and let people know about the show. We appreciate your support.
I'm going to do a deep dive after the show's over on Don Fargo. Dude.
We opened the ECW TV show with a Raven promo. He is outside. It's raining.
He's like again.
Is at the park. And
yeah.
Do you want to take over?
No, I was just saying. He said he was outside. He was just at the park again.
Yeah, he's at the park.
He's talking about raising kids and Sandboy's there. And...
Oh, they should have had Raven in the park during the day with kids playing behind him. Now that would have been more creepier than him just being in the park in the middle of the night in the dark. All these kids on the merry-go-round. There's a Raven just sitting there all butthurt.
I guess at least this time we didn't have Blue Meanie covered in frosting, so that was a plus.
Yeah, but at the end of it, like he's talking about raising kids and do this for 18 years, and now they just want to follow him. And he screams in the middle of the park at night, "I control the children." What are you doing? You shouldn't say that in the park.
And now we get another episode of fucking
Stan Hansen to catch a predator.
To catch a predator with Stan Hansen.
Yeah. You thought you were coming here to meet Sandman's boy.
Why do you have Zima's Raven?
You would have seen, if you would have had Raven doing that promo with a bunch of kids in the background and he would have said what he said, you would have seen a bunch of women running up and getting their kids off swings and merry-go-rounds and shit.
And some guy dressed like a Bush tackles him.
You can see it in the background, the Bush just creeping in. While Raven's cutting the promo, and all of a sudden,
as soon
as he goes to grab a kid, he gets speared by a bush.
And it's not a good look for Raven. It's not a good defense for Raven that he walks around with a fat guy that wears tube tops and fucking a dude in Daisy
and
Dukes.
booty shorts.
This is all getting really fucking weird.
And Stevie looks gay.
Yeah, Stevie's even worse.
Oh, god damn.
Because he's wearing a cut-off winger shirt.
Yes, essentially the payoff to the Raven feud is we see Tyler Fullington doing the Raven, quote, the Raven stance. And like Aaron said, this is a great storyline, and we're just getting started. But the good thing about it is it keeps it, because I love Raven, but I don't really like Dreamers, so I don't have to see Dreamers community theater when it comes to Raven. But because we're moving into this, but
yeah, one of the greatest lines in
still
wrestling.
going on, right?
Oh.
Yes. Oh yeah, Raven and Dreamer goes on forever and ever. I think it's still going on.
Oh yeah, it is, because Dreamer still brings it up on Busted Open.
Of course he does. It's the only good thing he ever did.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the only good thing that Raven let him do.
Right.
It wasn't like he did anything good.
Yeah, it's the only good thing he ever showed up for.
Yeah.
All right.
So
did you have anything else on that segment, guys? Anything else you want to comment there?
I don't know. I don't think so. Chris Hansen.
The next thing we get after Joey kind of gives us a recap of what's going on with Sandman and Raven is the probably the best part of this episode. And I know I said at the beginning I didn't like the episode. I just really didn't. Not that I didn't like this match. This is a good match. It's Chris Jericho and Pitbull 2. It's for the TV title.
When does Jericho's run end here?
It's not too long.
This.
Yeah, it's not too long because
they're gonna have a triple threat with him and Shane and Pitbull, and I think that might be when he's out.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say, Aaron. I think they know at this point he's going to WCW because during commentary, Joey even said, or I'm sorry, spoiler alert, 20-something years later, Jericho does win the title, and we can get into the match, but Joey actually even mentions this is his first championship, and this guy is going to go on to do great things all over the world and win many championships. So they already know he's on his way out, but they're just using him while they still got him, I think, at this point.
And I thought it was funny that Joey also acknowledged the fact that he said Jericho's only been there for a few months. It does not feel like it. I mean, I'm not even saying that in a bad way. I mean, it doesn't, right?
Yeah. They got a lot out of a short run with Chris Jericho.
It was like they had him. He must have worked a bunch of times, just to have like stuff in the can, and much like he did in Smoky Mountain, where they were still airing Thrill Seeker videos like months after he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just seemed like when Joey Styles said he's been here for a few months, I'm like, what few months? He's been there since before it was ECW. That's what it felt like.
But yeah, I enjoyed this match between Jericho and Pitbull too. A couple notes that I have that I wanted to ask or to bring up to you guys and the listeners. First of all, ECW arena with that crowd, Pitbull 2's fucking over.
Yes, he is.
Over like Rover. And then the only other thing before any specific moves or developments, did you guys notice when they were outside when Pitbull 2 was going to give Jericho the chair shot? Did you notice Jericho bracing for the chair shot?
He saw it.
He was like,
that's when we talk about that earlier when I said when you know it's coming, because you know damn well Anthony was not going to give him one of my chair shots.
Well, and also in that arena, the way that setup is, to me, at least to me, again, not a worker, but it doesn't look to me like you have a lot of space to work with in between the ring and the guardrail. So the swing is not, it's not like a swing out far and I've got some room to work with here. It's like a fucking wallop.
And Pitbull being as big as he is, he doesn't need a whole lot of space.
Right.
That's gonna hurt, man. And you saw the look on Jericho's face when he knew it was coming, that this is gonna hurt.
I might try to isolate that and screenshot it and make it his face the image for this week's show, because I was like, oh, I see dread on his face.
It was good, man. I thought they had for two guys as far along in their career as they were.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I like, not that it was sloppy, it just wasn't Dynamite Kid and Tiger Mask. Right. It had its moments where it looked like it was a struggle and it was a fight, and and the transition spots they went into each other. It wasn't like I said, it wasn't like they didn't do like a 15 move spot.
Mm-hmm.
It was you did the big move, you sell, and then the other guy gets back over on him for a minute, does a spot or a big move, and then they do whatever. But damn, that press slam though was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
That press slam that he did into that tombstone pile driver thing. It was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Like,
actually,
I've never seen that. I've never seen anybody do that before this, and I don't think I've ever seen anybody do it after it.
Yep, that's
You know
my other note is that
it's not as impressive as like that DDT that like Ray did at Halloween Havoc. It's never happened again, but it was like I've never seen that before, and I've never seen it again.
Yeah, my notes here say that tombstone reverse shit was fucking cool. That's actually literally what my notes say.
Well, there's not too many guys who are as naturally just strong like Anthony was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that dude was legitimately a strong guy. He looked every bit strong,
Yeah.
But he was stronger than that. He was, man. That guy was freakish, like strong. And he did it with ease.
I put him up there, and I put him up there look-wise with, like, if I'm looking at the Warlord or the Barbarian, like, that guy scares the fuck out of me. Like, look-wise, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but at least Warlord and the Barbarian, they're just super gigantic big, but they look like they can't really do shit.
Right.
Except kind of get a hold of you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like Anthony looks like he would legitimately like rip you apart and do all kinds of different ways to do it. He wouldn't just like rip your head off. He would give you like the Hurricane Rana off the top of something, just out of spite. He's the Moondog Spite. Or
Moondog Spite.
Moondog Spite. They have a Moondog just out of spite.
Yeah, he's Moondog Spite. He does everything out of spite. During the match, Shane Douglas comes out, intimidates Francine, and then I wrote down here, I didn't let it simmer, and Aaron was right. And it's hard for me to ever utter the words Aaron was right. As brothers, it's hard. It's hard to do that. But I didn't let this simmer, but now I do as we've gone on week to week. Remember at the beginning, I said, well, it's kind of stupid that Shane Douglas didn't want the TV title, and now he's mad that he lost it. But as they're building the story about him, like all of a sudden now it's important to him because he can't have it, it is good.
Oh, that's perfect.
You were right, Aaron.
That's perfect that he did that because when he was the world champion, yeah, that title didn't mean nothing. But now that he's got nothing, that's his stepping stone again. So yeah, that's perfect.
And he tries to take the belt, and of course he doesn't get to do that. And then the finish of the match actually is really good too. Chris Jericho actually wins the title with a Hurricane Rana off the top rope, countering the Pitbull, trying to, of course, give him the power bomb off the top rope. And this was a really good match and the best part of this episode of the show. I really enjoyed this part. The rest of it, I don't know. But anyway, I like this.
You don't like the return of the OG?
We'll get into that here in just a second.
The
OG. He's back with his boots with the fur.
and you can see, and now that we're getting into the next spot, when we talk about the Dudleys, you can see they dropped the stuttering.
Yes, this is the next segment. Yes, it's good. We have it's supposed to be the Dudleys versus the FBI. So of course it's going to be the FBI is escorted to the ring by the legendary, the one, the only, the man with the boots himself, the star of probably the first year of Reliving the Extreme, Salvatore Malomo.
It's for the children. It's for the kids.
Dude, I can't believe they brought that up too. That in his spare time he makes wooden toys for children. God, when they, I was writing stuff down when I heard him say that in his spare time he makes wooden toys for children.
I
at the park with Raven.
I actually wrote down here in my notes that they should have just let Sal Balomo stick around for the entire run of ECW. just always have something for Sal.
See, the trick would have been you bring him back, you do something with him, and you make him go away for a little while. Just long enough that you kind of forget him. And then all of a sudden he's back again. He would never not be over then. There's no chance he would not be over.
You even could give him at least once for the sake of history. You could even give Sal the lights out spot.
Jesus. His lights are already out. He didn't need to hit no switch for Sal to not have his lights on. Oh God damn! Could you imagine if he would have been if he would have came out? You know, he's pretty much doing with who's the idiot? R-Truth.
Yeah, he could have been ECW's R-Truth.
R Balomo. Yeah, he totally could. He just could have just showed up. Imagine if he just popped in.
Not R Balomo, he's Sal Truth.
Sal Truth. Imagine if he just
like
injected himself in the main event of Barely Legal.
I want to see like every time he gets choke slammed, like stuffed animals blow up, like fly up everywhere.
Oh, if that would have been on Peacock. Like nowadays, he gets choke slammed, and he had like the big animated stuffed animals fly out.
But yeah, other than the arrival of Sal, the big news story here is, of course, the FBI is making fun of Bubba's stutter. So when Bubba introduces himself, he says, "My name is Bubba Ray Dudley," and no stutter, and the crowd pops.
Yeah, and that's real rich. JT making fun of how somebody speaks.
Yeah, Gary Hart's in the audience like, "I don't know what you said." Black.
and you know, it's funny when we're talking about Sal Balomo. I don't even, I heard his name earlier today on something else. Oh, on Stick to Wrestling, and they were talking about how he was kind of getting the push in the WWE, and I kind of just chuckled, and I was just imagining, what if it was the Sal Balomo, like the Sal Balomo that we know?
Yeah, what if it was helmet wearing Sal Balomo,
toy throwing out to the people?
That actually, if he would have done that shit for Vince might have kept him longer.
Yeah, put him in Raven's flock. That would be good too.
But essentially the gist of this segment and of this match is the conflict between Big Dick Dudley and Devon Dudley over who is the leader of the Dudley Boys, because Devon gets involved in this whole deal, but he heads out. He heads out and avoids Big Dick Dudley when Big Dick Dudley comes back to the ring. And those are my notes. Did you guys have anything else on this segment?
Nope.
No.
Because the next segment for me has not many notes at all.
The leader of the Dudley should have been Uncle Howdy Dudley. You know what? You just never know who he is. There should have never been like an official leader of a Dudley. Unless it was Don Fargo Dudley. That's the only answer to who's the actual leader of the Dudleys.
Gary Hart.
My big black Dudley.
I have a black Dudley. I have an Indian Dudley. An Indian Dudley.
I have a red Dudley. Look at my red Dudley.
I have a red Dudley who is actually a Latin.
Yes.
And we have a retard Dudley.
Yes, we have.
I have a retarded. I have a retard Dudley. I got a mute Dudley.
I have an obese Dudley.
This Dudley is deaf and dumb. And I have a
black Dudley.
Morbidly obese Dudley.
That's my
We are hoping
Dudley.
we are hoping in the near future to acquire a Chink Dudley.
Chink Dudley.
Here's my Dudley from the Orient.
He is Low Duck Dong Dudley.
I was gonna say Dudley. I was gonna say Dudley Nagasaki, but
no, Low Duck Dong Dudley.
Holy shit!
They have the move the 3D. His move is the number 3
with fried rice.
Right.
To go.
The Boston Crab Rangoon is his finisher.
Okay. I hope these rubes find this as amusing as we do. Crab Rangoon. Oh,
oh fuck. Boston Crab Rangoon, there's your title for the show.
Dudley.
Stop saying it.
All right. The last segment of this ECW show is more of what I do not like about ECW right now. It is Tommy Dreamer, Brian Lee in a weapons match. And I wrote down in my notes, fair. I will be fair here. I can see why this was over in the ECW arena, because in the arena, two guys brawling around using weapons. That's obviously at the live show. That's exciting for the fans, and I get it.
Up close and personal.
Yeah, and that's like I've said, I'm just not interested in these guys and this feud. I checked out a long time ago. It's just not. I don't know. I'm not interested.
Just imagine how cool it would be if you're at the arena, and you're just one of them stupid drunk fans, and you got like a weapon or a chair or something, and you look over and like Dreamer or Brian Lee take it from you or ask for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
That's
I said,
one of the coolest things ever for a fan.
I get it as a live aesthetic. I totally get it. But just for me watching it now, disinterested.
They're both just boring. And when they wind up outside of the arena, they run to, like, Brian Lee goes to slam Tommy Dreamer into that garage door, and they run like a block. Did you guys notice that?
I'm going to be honest. I know I checked out during this shit. I was watching it, but I wasn't, so I don't have good notes. So I'm going to trust your comment.
There wasn't any notes. There wasn't anything to say.
That's the only note I have on it is like he ran from like a sidewalk through a parking lot
past Raven
to slam Tommy Dreamer's head up against the garage door. Like, imagine running through an industrial parking lot in Philadelphia and you take that long. It was just stupid. It was just stupid.
Imagine it in real life, allowing somebody to do that to you.
Right. In the meantime, as we're getting to this garage door, we've both stepped on 2 hypodermic needles.
Yeah, and like it was dumb. They should have just did what they did.
In the background was Chris Hansen talking to Raven.
Yeah, like, what are you doing here?
Past the park.
They should have just did what they did at the end at the beginning. It should have been like,
yeah. They brawl outside for a while. They come back into the arena. I wrote down there's a distraction at some point with Kimona flashing Brian Lee. Tommy Dreamer gets a DDT on a stop sign for a pinfall over Brian Lee, but then the Bruise Brothers, of course, come out.
Yeah.
And they are big fans of racist Gary Hart. And then the brawl goes up into the Eagle's Nest. And then there is the choke slam through the tables off the Eagle's Nest, which of course is setting us up for the scaffold match coming up later on. So I understand everything here. The crowd ate it up. I'm sure they're setting up for another match coming up because of the table stacked. Just not my I'm not interested in these guys. I just am not.
It's funny that that's the way that it ended, because I texted the group and it was like, is this the way it ended? Like, this was it?
That's it. No Pulp Fiction, no promos. We
I
get
didn't
no
even see the copyright thing.
We get no gangsta. We got once again a week with no gangstas and no eliminators.
No. no Gary Hart.
No Gary Hart.
Thank God for Ian Totten and racist Gary Hart, or this would have been a 22-minute show.
Pretty much.
Imagine Gary Hart meeting New Jack. Wow, you're quite the black. What'd you say, motherfucker?
Exactly.
After that, or you've been like, "You're correct, motherfucker."
And Mustafa's
Thank you for the compliment.
Mustafa's just in the background going, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to say that Gary Hart's saying the N-word. And who is your N-word friend over here?
Does he have any crack cocaine?
What is he going to do with that pencil? Why is he smoking a pencil? A number 2.
I'd like you to meet my Latin Al Perez.
Why is your black friend smoking a Ticonderoga number 2?
Well, overall, I did not enjoy much of this episode of ECW, but I
enjoyed our version of it better.
I enjoyed our version very much, and I want to thank our listeners for participating through our Facebook group, the WNR Facebook group. Thank you to all of the people that responded to Aaron's post tonight for helping us make this show not 20 minutes long. We appreciate that. Because when it comes to improv, we can roll with that shit, folks. So we appreciate you helping us out.
Yes, we can. Because I don't think I even had a half a page of notes.
I had to struggle to get a page. Yeah, like I was writing shit down that I wouldn't even normally write down just to justify doing a podcast.
I was writing down comments of people that I saw in the crowd, like what they were wearing or something.
Oh, there was a goofy looking fuck that had
yes, there was
that guy with the Coke bottle glasses and the mustache, and like even for 96, that guy looked outdated.
Yeah, there was ECW. That building, man, it brings out the best in people.
It's like, have you been to the ECW arena before, sir? Yes, I have. Well, welcome back, Cotter. Come on in and enjoy the show. All right, guys. Any parting words for our listeners this week before we sign off?
Yeah, it wasn't that great of a show, but I mean, Jericho, I guess, and Pitbull saved it from, I guess, being a complete disaster, right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe the Dudleys thing would have been better if it wouldn't have been so edited, because we didn't actually get to see the match.
Right.
Like so I'm not shitting on the Dudleys at all, and it was cool to see Sal Balomo back. That's fun. But it just the opening thing with Raven was cool. It's funny because now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, this wasn't a terrible episode, but Dreamer and Tommy Lee, Dreamer and Brian Lee totally took me out of it. I'm not interested in those guys. So,
well, that's great. I gotta pee.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week on Reliving the Extreme.
Thanks, guys.